Hey there, welcome to today's episode. I want to take a look at the synth engines on the Polyend Tracker Plus. Now I'm going to put some timestamps in so you can skip to the part you're most interested in, but we're going to begin with a general overview of the synth engines, take a look at the parameters, the menu settings, things that you can tweak, and we'll also take a look at some of the sound effect and sound design options that are available. At the end of the video, I'm going to run through every preset for every synth engine. It's a little bit of a dry thing to do, but I know some people really like that kind of thing. You can either skip that part, skip straight to it depending what you're looking for. We're going to begin by going into config, and the reason for that is because when this device launched, unfortunately, there were a couple of bugs with the synth engines. You want to just make sure that your firmware is up to date because according to Polyend, that has now been fixed. At the time of making this video, it is 1.0.2. It's the latest firmware update. It's very easy to update the firmware. Go to the Polyend website, download it, pop it onto the micro SD card that comes with the tracker, and then run the firmware update. There are more detailed instructions, but that's it in a nutshell, really. It's very simple. Let's go to pattern. When we want to load up our synth engines, we have 3 synth engine slots per project that are available to us. So you can load 3 synth engines at any one time within a project. So if we go to instruments and we hold that down, you will see those 3 synth engine slots that are available. We can use our jog wheel, the arrow keys, or the pads to select the slot. You'll notice they are already pre-populated with one of the synth engines, but that's okay. You can swap them out to whatever you like. We just need to select the slot. And for this video, I'm only going to be using one slot, but bear in mind, you can have 3 synth engines running within your project. So we're going to load up synth slot 1. Just going to let go of that. I know it's enabled because it tells me at the top of the screen, and I can go to instrument parameters. Once we're inside this menu on the left-hand side, I can see the 5 synth engines that are available. And we're going to start with ACD because that's the first one. Use my scroll wheel to select it. It gives us an initial patch. Sounds like that. And if I want to go to the presets that Polyend have given us, we do load patch, and you'll see for every synth engine, there's a pretty comprehensive list of presets, patches, if you will. I'm going to preview all of those at the end of the video. So for now, we're just doing a general overview. Let's say 202 is what I'm interested in. I can preview that from my pads. Or I can preview with the preview buttons. We have a low tone and a high tone. Obviously, you can navigate with the jog wheel or the arrow keys. Choose a different one if you like. We're going to stick with 202 for now. And let's say I want to load that patch. I click confirm. That patch has now been loaded. The first set of sound design and parameters that we can tweak to make it our own are listed from this same instrument parameters page. It is synth parameters page 1 of 2. We have another page that we'll access in a moment. We have polyphony, so starts monophony. But if you want to play some chords, you can dial that up. Get some chords. Gain, so of course the main volume. We've got our panning left and right. We also have our reverb and our delay send, so we could add a decent bit of reverb. Or some delay. We'll take that back off for now, but just know that you can tweak that here. Page 1 of 2, press instrument parameters again. We can access our next page 2 of 2. You'll notice we've got M1 to M6. The reason I point that out is because that relates to the next menu, the deeper diving menu that we're going to get into in a second. Just know that we can tweak some things here. They are related to this next set of options. So if we want to play with M2, like the movement, can dial in a bunch of stuff here. We've got M3. You can see you can go pretty wild with it. We're going to come back up a page by pressing instrument parameters again. And this time I want to go into edit patch where we're going to do our deep diving into our synthesis and our sound design. So let's go into edit patch. We have some non-lit pads for playing, preview. And on the left hand side, we have our lit up pads that relate to the menu options that we can see on the left-hand side of the screen. So for this ACD synth engine, we have 12 menu options available out of 16. So we've got 16 pads, but we're only using 12 menu options for this particular synth engine. We've got the usual things: oscillation, filters, amplitude, modulation, voices. Then we get into our M menus, which relate back to the mode I was just talking about. That's why I wanted to point that out. You could see our M values from M1 all the way over to M6. So they relate and are linked to the menus that are here. So we can go into those. And I just want to show you them so that you can see what is under the hood here. There are a lot of options a lot of things that you can tweak. If we go back up to something like a filter, whenever you choose a menu, of course, we have all of these parameters on the right-hand side that can be tweaked. So something like the cutoff, if I wanted to play around with that, I can dial that in using my jog wheel. If I want to select something else from this right-hand side, I can use the arrow keys, or I can use the filter buttons to do the same thing. Let's just play with the cutoff. You get the idea, we can mess around with that. Let's say you've spent all day tweaking your particular synth engine and you've come up with the most perfect sound, created your own synth preset. You can save that by pressing save as, and then you can name it. And of course, you can then create a whole list of your own custom synth presets. We're not going to do that now, but just know that you can come in here, you can name it on the device, and you can save it. We're going to cancel. That's a fantastic thing, of course, because you're going to spend a lot of time doing your sound design. And this applies to every single synth engine that we're going to take a look at today. Not just the ACD, any single one of these synth engines, you can save your own custom presets. So it's pretty darn cool. Also, if you wanted to just start again, you want to start by initializing the patch and have a blank canvas and start your sound design, you can do that from this menu as well. I can do that. And then as I run through some of these options, you'll notice we've still got all of our menus. There'll be some other options that have been changed because we're not using a preset. So some of this information will be changed from what we saw before, where you can start with a blank canvas and build your own preset and then save it from there. So very quickly, let's take a look at the other synth engines. The reason I'm doing that is because the menu items and the options change per synth engine. So with ACD, we had 12 menus we could dive into. If we move back over and choose the FAT, the fat synth, if you will, we can have our initial patch, or we can go and load a preset, or we can edit that patch. You will see this time we've got 13 menus. And again, I'm just quickly showing you what is inside some of these menus. It's mainly so you can see what's under the hood. And if you're particularly interested in sound design and tweaking things, you want to see roughly what's available. So 13 menus worth for our fat synth. Let's go back, take a look at VAP, the VAP synth, if you will, an initial patch, load a preset, and we can edit that patch. This time, 16 menus worth of items that we can play around with. So much scope here for sound design. Amp envelopes, envelope 1, envelope 2. There's a couple of LFOs here, modulation, voices, and of course, all of our M value menus as well. So much scope. WTFM is the next one. Same with an initial patch or a preset, this time 90s bass. Can edit that patch as well. This one also has 16 menus available. Same options as before, oscillation, filters, same amp envelopes, couple of envelopes there, LFOs, modulation, voices, and again, all these M value parameters that can be tweaked. That brings us on to the final synth engine, this one being slightly different because it is a percussive synth engine. So if we move down, it's called PERC, which would suggest that it's the same. However, you'll notice the pads have changed into a mini drum kit. You can see the pads that are lit up represent that little drum kit. We still get an initial patch. We still have a bunch of preset kits again, which will be previewed at the end of the video. But let's say we wanted the bit glitch kit. You can hear those sounds are different, and we can still edit our patch as we did before. Exactly the same as well. If you want to save a custom preset, you can do this for the PERC synth as well. The only difference here being that when we're looking at our menus, they relate to different options. So the first menu is all the parameters for the kick drum, toms, snares, got hi-hats, cymbals, percussive sounds. You have a mixer, which is great. And you also have some effects that you can apply. And the same are M value parameters that can all be tweaked as we go along. Really, really cool stuff. One final thing before we dive into taking a look at some of the preset sounds is you have to bear in mind that this device also uses resampling. So if you want to put some synth sounds together, you've created the perfect synth sound, that can still be resampled and then replayed back. You could chop it up, but you could also use the sample editor where you can apply other effects. There are some bit crushing and things like that that you can mess around with. There's a whole array of sound design options available to you with this thing. So that was a general overview of all of these synth engines. Of course, for every single synth engine, you always have the same options for your polyphony, your gain, your panning. Hopefully that was all clear enough. For the final part, I am going to run through and play you a preview of every preset for every synth engine. I'm going to turn my microphone off to do that, just so that you don't hear the clicking of the buttons as we're running through. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope it's been of interest to you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.